The feeling of fear. Fear. It is invisible. You cannot touch it. You cannot see it. But somehow, it can control an entire life. Sometimes fear enters quietly, like a whisper in the dark, a strange feeling in your chest, a voice in your mind saying, "What if something goes wrong?" And suddenly, your heart beats faster, your hands become cold, your thoughts become heavy. Fear, one emotion, capable of turning strong people weak, capable of making peaceful minds feel trapped. And the terrifying part is this: fear does not always look dangerous. Sometimes it hides inside silence, inside overthinking, inside loneliness, inside sleepless nights, inside fake smiles. Millions of people walk around every day pretending to be okay, while secretly fighting fear inside their minds. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of darkness, fear of death, fear of the future, fear of being alone, and sometimes, fear of things we cannot explain. The human mind is powerful, but when fear enters it, even a small shadow can begin to look like a monster. A dark room suddenly feels alive. Footsteps sound louder at night. Silence becomes uncomfortable. Your imagination starts creating things that were never there. And slowly fear grows. Not because it is real, but because you keep feeding it. That is how fear works. It begins with one thought, then another, until your own mind becomes a prison. But here is something important. Fear was never meant to rule you. The Bible says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." Bible 2 Timothy 1:7. Think about that for a moment. Fear does not come from God. Power comes from God. Love comes from God. Peace comes from God. But fear steals peace. Fear steals sleep. Fear steals courage. Fear makes people run away from opportunities, run away from purpose, run away from life itself. There are people who never chase their dreams because fear convinced them they would fail. There are people who never spoke the truth because fear told them nobody would listen. There are people who stopped believing in themselves because fear kept whispering, "You are not enough." Fear is dangerous because it speaks like a friend. It sounds believable, logical, safe, but slowly it chains the mind. The enemy of your soul understands this. That is why fear is one of the strongest weapons against humanity. Because a fearful person stops moving forward. Fear freezes people. Fear keeps them trapped in darkness while life passes by. But throughout history, God kept telling humanity one sentence again and again. Do not be afraid. Not once. Not twice. Again and again. Because God understands the human heart. He knows how easily people become afraid when storms appear. And storms will appear. There will be nights when life feels heavy. Days when your future looks uncertain. Moments when pain feels endless. Even strong people experience fear. Even brave people shake sometimes. But courage does not mean the absence of fear. Courage means standing even when fear is screaming inside you. One of the most powerful verses ever written says, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." Bible Psalm 23:4. Notice something incredible. The verse does not say, "I will never enter dark valleys." No, it says, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley," meaning darkness exists, pain exists, fear exists, But evil does not win. Why? Because God is present even in darkness. And sometimes, the scariest battles happen inside the mind. Nobody sees them. Nobody hears them. But inside, a war is happening. A war between fear and faith. Fear says, "You are alone." Faith says, "God is with you." Fear says, "You will fail." Faith says, "Keep walking." Fear says, "There is no hope." Faith says, "This is not the end." Every human being chooses which voice becomes stronger. The more you feed fear, the darker life becomes. But the more you feed faith, the stronger your spirit becomes. Fear loves darkness. That is why people often feel more afraid at night. When the room becomes silent, the mind becomes louder. Regrets appear. Worries appear. Memories appear. And suddenly, your own thoughts begin attacking you. But darkness has always feared light. One small light can destroy the feeling of an entire dark room. And spiritually, God is that light. The Bible says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear?" Bible Psalm 27:1. Whom shall I fear? What a powerful sentence. Because when people truly believe God is with them, fear loses power. Not instantly, not magically, but slowly, day by day, step by step. The chains begin breaking. The mind becomes calmer. The heart becomes stronger. Fear no longer controls every decision. And maybe that is what so many people need today. Not more panic, not more anxiety, not more darkness, but peace. Real peace. The kind of peace that remains even when life becomes difficult. Because the truth is, fear will always try to enter your life. But you do not have to give it a home. You do not have to believe every terrifying thought your mind creates. Thoughts are not always truth. Sometimes fear lies. Sometimes fear exaggerates. Sometimes fear creates monsters that never existed. And that is why faith matters. Because faith reminds people that darkness is temporary. Storms end. Pain changes people. But it does not have to destroy them. And some of the strongest people alive today are people who were once completely broken by fear. But they kept going. Even while shaking. Even while crying. Even while doubting. They kept moving forward. That is courage. Not perfection. Not fearlessness. Just refusing to surrender. Jesus himself told people many times, "Do not be afraid." Imagine hearing those words during the darkest moment of your life. Do not be afraid. Not because life is easy, but because you are not alone. There is something deeply powerful about hope. Fear makes the future look dark. Hope turns a small light into strength. And sometimes, one small light is enough to survive the night. Maybe right now someone listening to this feels trapped by fear. Fear of tomorrow. Fear of losing people. Fear of failure. Fear of death. Fear of being forgotten. But listen carefully. Fear does not decide your future. Your fear is not greater than God. Your darkness is not stronger than light. And your story is not over. The enemy wants people weak, silent, afraid. But God created human beings for more than survival. He created them to live, to love, to grow, to stand strong even during storms. That does not mean life becomes painless. It means fear no longer becomes master. Because the moment a person realizes God is with them, something changes inside. The darkness no longer feels endless. The fear no longer feels unbeatable. And slowly peace returns. Not the fake peace the world gives. Real peace. The kind that calms the soul. The kind that survives storms. The kind that whispers, "You will make it through this." Fear is powerful, but faith is stronger. Darkness is real, but light is greater. And no matter how dark the night becomes, morning always comes. So when fear enters your mind tonight, when the silence feels heavy, when your heart begins racing, remember this: you are not fighting alone. And maybe that is why one of the most comforting verses in the Bible says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God goes with you." Bible Deuteronomy 31:6. Fear may knock at your door, but it does not have to live inside your soul. Because even in darkness, there is still light. And even in fear, there is still hope.